Hello there. It's 4 o'clock Pacific time on Friday afternoon, which means it's time to drink. Holy crap. I really need a drink today. It's funny. I don't know about you guys. Like this week, it was an okay week, but today just ended on a craptacular note. Felt like I was dealing with a bunch of chuckleheads that just didn't get it and micromanagers, and it was crazy. So did not end well. Not happy with the way today ended. So I'm making a drink. And the good news is that this drink in particular is pretty good. It's sweet. It's actually really sweet, but not too sweet, but has a ton of booze in it, which is going to make a great Friday drink. So I'm super excited to do this one. I hope you guys made your peach puree. I have some here. Notice the finely crafted mason jar. I've got a series of these for all kinds of stuff I make in drinks. I think Molly's a little upset at the amount of space in the house I have for not only my booze, but drinking paraphernalia and mixers and things. But she's ultimately the beneficiary from it anyway, because she asked me to make a drink and I can make her whatever the heck she wants. This stuff, I hope you guys followed along and made some with me. Essentially, it's super easy to make in a blender or a food processor or whatever. You take a half a peach and 2 ounces of peach schnapps, and you mix that up and you blend it. And so for canned peaches, I find that there's about 4 to 6 slices, makes about a half a peach. And the canned peaches, actually, they're not bad. I've used fresh peaches. I've used canned peaches for this. They both turn out okay. The nice thing about canned peaches actually is that they're already super sweet, and they make it a little bit sweeter. The natural peach or the fresh peaches, I think, give it a more peachy taste. So kind of depends on what you want. If you want like super sweet or a more kind of regular fruit taste, go with canned versus normal peaches. But at any rate, super easy to make. Half a peach, 2 ounces of peach schnapps, and that's about it, right? So that gives you your beautiful peach puree. The other stuff we're going to have is bourbon, okay? And I'm using, this is Buffalo Trace. We've got my Buffalo Trace bourbon and some sweet vermouth. Okay, those are our ingredients. So it's a really easy thing to make. Once you get past the prep of this, it's easy. I think you'll notice when you blend up the peaches, the consistency is going to be totally different depending on if you like a lot of pulp or not. You may want to strain it. What I end up doing is I blend it up and then I take one of those fine strainers, like metal strainers, and I just strain the stuff and pull out a lot of the pulp, and that makes this kind of like, looks like a melted slushy. So, crappy week, but a great Friday. So let's make this bad boy. So what we're going to do, we've got a shaker, we've got some ice. First thing we're going to do is we're going to add 3 ounces of bourbon. And again, I'm using Buffalo Trace. I really like Buffalo Trace. It's a great bourbon. It's a great, it's kind of my new house bourbon. I always have it on hand. It mixes really well with everything. It tastes really good. It's just a very nice bourbon. Right, so let's take 3 ounces of bourbon. I'm going to put this in our shaker. Because remember, we don't make anything that doesn't have at least 2 ounces of booze in it. So there's our bourbon. Okay, we're going to take our peach puree. Should be about 2 ounces of it. If you make it in mason jars like I do, take 2 ounces, about 2 ounces of it out. So let's pour 2 ounces in there. Okay. And the last thing we're going to add is we're going to add just a capful of sweet vermouth. Okay. So I think the one thing about this recipe that I should tell you guys, like this isn't a recipe that I made up. I actually found this one someplace. I like ripped it out of a magazine like Southern Living or something like that. I have no clue how I got the magazine. I was probably in a dentist's office or doctor's office thumbing through it, but I came across this recipe. A woman by the name of Mandy Landfield wrote it, because I wrote down her name on the recipe as I copied it down. Tucked it away, put it in my liquor cabinet, and just kind of let it sit there. I thought it sounded interesting. And then I made it, and it actually turned out really good, so I added it to my drink book, right? So this isn't one of my drinks. I make it, but the credit goes to a woman down south who publishes drinks in Southern Living or whatever. So we got all our booze, right? We got 3 ounces of bourbon, about 2 ounces of our peach puree, a capful of sweet vermouth, and our shaker. Now we're going to add ice. Okay, I got plenty of ice in there. And we shake. I'm going to shake the heck out of this so it's nice and cold. We don't really have any fresh food. We don't have to worry about bruising the peaches or anything like that. We've pureed the heck out of them, so we don't have to worry about that. But it's nice and cold there. Okay, got a little shorty martini glass. Ooh, oh, I made too much. Well, you can never make too much. So there we go, Southern Peach Manhattan. Oh, that's good. Totally hits the spot, especially today. The one thing about this drink is it's one of those you can play with depending on how much you like bourbon. If you like bourbon, I recommend 3 shots. You may want to split this into 2 drinks, because if you think about it, we have 5 shots of booze in there, really. 3 shots of bourbon and 2 shots of peach schnapps, which is, maybe 40 proof. So it's not a lot, but still, it's booze. And you can split this drink, right? Because that's 5 ounces. So it splits pretty easily. I like to think that this is a 1-serving drink, but it's one of those things you can play with. If you would rather have it sweeter, you can use more of the peach puree. You could probably add a little bit of, if you use canned peaches, I strain all the sugar stuff out, the stuff in it. But you could add some of that to the puree if you like it a little bit sweeter. You could back down the bourbon a little bit. But the nice thing about this drink, first of all, none of it goes to waste ever. But the nice thing about this drink is it's malleable. You can kind of make it taste the way you want to, and it'll still taste great. You can have a boozier taste. You can have a kind of a sweeter, fruitier taste. Totally up to you, and it works really well either way. I really did have a crappy Friday today. It totally sucked. So that is the Southern Peach Manhattan. Super easy. Make your peach puree. For every half of a peach you use 2 ounces of peach schnapps. If you've got canned peaches, that's fine. You can use those. Probably 4 to 6 slices of that canned stuff makes about a half a peach. So let's say you use a whole can of peaches. There's probably, I don't know, maybe a peach and a half or so in a can, maybe 2 peaches. I don't know. But like I said, for every 4 slices, use 2 ounces of schnapps. Puree it, strain it if you don't like all of the pulp in it. And then it's got enough sugar, this stuff will last for a while. And it's got booze, so you don't have to worry about like sugar crystallizing on your jars or whatever you put it in. Find a nice bourbon. I haven't tried this with a rye. I don't think I would try this with a rye, mostly because the sweetness of the bourbon pairs really well with the sweetness of the peach. And I think it'd be kind of weird maybe with some of the rye tastes, some of that spiciness with the peach, but it might be good. I've never tried it. You can, and then a cap full of sweet vermouth. If you use dry vermouth, it would really kind of, I think it would taste very odd if you use dry vermouth, but knock yourself out. Super simple to make. The only real prep in this drink is the puree stuff. So that's why I kind of make it by the jar. Throw it in a shaker, plenty of ice. It's a good drink. So next week, I've already figured out what we're going to make. So super short one today. Super kind of easy. No great history or background other than I was in like a doctor's office or dentist's office. I was bored looking at some magazine, saw this recipe, sounded interesting, wrote it down, squirreled it away for like a year, found it again, decided I'd make it, and I like it. So it's good. That's the story. Nothing spectacular about it. But next week will be fun. I've already picked out what we're going to do next week. Next week is not for the faint of heart, by the way. I think you should all tune in next week, and we'll see how hammered I get in about 20 minutes. So one of my buddies, Matt Christensen, before the last drink. So I don't know, maybe a couple weeks ago, when I put out the drink ingredients, he said, "Hey, look, Steve, we're in this COVID-19 thing. Like your 80, 90 proof drinks are kind of tame, aren't they? Don't you need something a little bit higher proof? Why don't you try making something with Everclear?" And I'm like, "Well, that sounds disgusting, but challenge accepted." So I went out and got some Everclear. Caution, extremely flammable, handle with care. 95.5% alcohol by volume. This is paint thinner, gasoline. This is probably the worst thing you could ever drink by itself. And that was a challenge, right? How do you make a drink out of Everclear? But I did it. I made a freaking awesome drink, and it actually tastes great. And Molly even likes it. And I made it for a couple of my friends, and they like it. And it is an absolutely wonderful drink. And the cool thing about the drink is it's one of those drinks that looks really cool too. So not only does it look cool, it tastes good, and it will knock you on your keister faster than you can say, "Bend over and kick me in the ass." I mean, this thing is an all-around great drink, and it's absolutely perfect for a pandemic. So, thanks, Matt, for the challenge. Show up next week, and we're going to make the best drink you've ever had with Everclear, and probably one of the better drinks that I think I've made on these Friday things. It's actually a really good drink, and it's one of those drinks some people don't like bourbon, some people don't like gin, some people don't like vodka, some people don't like tequila, right? This is one of those drinks, oddly enough, that I think everyone will kind of like, even though we're using rocket fuel to make this shit. So go out, splurge and buy your $20 bottle of Everclear, because this stuff is cheap as all get out. It's more expensive than gasoline, but barely, right? Go out, get your bottle of Everclear. I'll post the instructions on how to make this bad boy probably Tuesday or Wednesday. It's pretty, I'm not going to say it's simple. I think there are 4 or 5 ingredients. I got to go back and look at my recipe. But this is something that I just kind of made from scratch. I had an idea. I kind of modeled it after some vodka drinks that I've had before, and started there and just kind of riffed on it. We are going to use the homemade grenadine. So if you made that for the Steve Breeze the other week, we're going to use that in this drink as well. So I hope you made enough of it to last. If not, super simple. Remember, equal parts pomegranate juice and sugar. It's just a simple syrup we're making with pomegranate, right? So I'm actually super excited about next week to make this one. A lot of these Friday drinks, I kind of prep myself and I have a drink before this or after. Yeah, next week that won't be happening. Next week I'll be drinking one drink and it will be damn tasty. I guarantee it. You will all like this drink. And it's with Everclear. So thank you, Matt, for the challenge, because it made me think. And this is actually probably one of the cooler, more interesting drinks I've made and invented for sure in a while. And it looks beautiful. The drink, it looks great. It's one of those drinks like when we made the Night Flight. It's one of those kind of drinks. It just looks really good and it tastes good, and it's with Everclear. So anyway, Southern Peach Manhattan, super easy. Make your peach puree equal parts, or not equal parts. For every half of peach, use 2 ounces of peach schnapps, blend it, puree it. So you'll end up with a little over 2 ounces. You'll probably end up with, 3 or 4 ounces of stuff, puree. I put it in a big mason jar, and what I'll do is I'll do 2 ounces of that puree, put it in a shaker, 3 ounces of bourbon, 1 capful of sweet vermouth, shake it, drink it. It's amazing. You can play with it if you want to back off on the bourbon, maybe use 2 shots of bourbon or 2.5 shots. If you want a little bit sweeter, add either a little simple syrup or add some of the, like if you use canned peaches, get a little bit of that peach sugar and dump it in there if you want a little bit sweeter. But this stuff is actually really sweet, especially with the peach schnapps. It makes it super sweet, so I don't think you need to add anything. But you can play a little bit to make it either a little bit more bourbon flavored or peach flavored. Super easy to make, right? And next week, we've got the first ever clear drink that it's the first one I've ever invented. I'm not saying it's the first one I've ever made, but it's definitely the first one I've ever made that I wasn't pouring it into a freaking garbage can full of like high C, tang, and fruit. By the way, I want to thank my buddies who I reached out to and said, hey, look, I'm making an Everclear drink. What in the hell should I put in it? And the top 2 answers were high C and tang. So thank you. We're not using either one of those in the drink next week, by the way. But thank you anyway for playing. So thanks for showing up, guys. I hope you had a better Friday than I did. Hope you enjoy the Southern Peach Manhattan. It's super interesting, I think. I kind of enjoyed making the puree. It's something a little bit different. And it's good. It's really good. I love the 3 shots of bourbon. I love that bourbon taste, and it mates really well with the puree. It really does. Next week, Everclear is on the menu. So if you don't have a bottle of Everclear, do yourself a favor and go out and get a bottle of Everclear. And if you cannot get it in your state, then order it online. See if they will ship it to you. The drink, you might be able to substitute vodka, but I'm not sure it turns out the same. I really don't think so. So get your Everclear and get ready for next week. Hope you all had a better Friday than I had. I'm still dealing with it, so it'll be fun. After that it'll be a great freaking day. Have a wonderful weekend, guys. I will see you all next Friday. Go buy your Everclear. You will not be disappointed. Cheers, guys.